Welcome to the AVAIL podcast, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. My name is Virgil Sierra, your AVAIL podcast host, also lead pastor of Vertical Church, Iglesia Vertical in South Florida. And today we're sitting down for part 2 of our conversation with Pastor Charles Nieman, founding and senior pastor of Abundant Church in El Paso, Texas. And we are doing part 2 of this conversation, which is mistakes that ministry leaders make. So lean in, leaders, and let's get started. Pastor Charles, we are here on part 2 of our conversation. How you feeling?
I'm great, enjoying this. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, so I want to mention to all of our AVAIL listeners and viewers, if you didn't catch part 1 of this conversation, you're going to want to go back to part 1, A, to get to know a little bit about Pastor Charles Nieman, and B, to catch the first mistakes that we went through on this list. So I know Pastor Charles, and by the way, I think it's important, since it's a new episode, to just mention to everybody, where are you pastoring? How long have you been pastoring? And why do you feel God called you to do this?
Yeah, I'm pastoring. This is my 48th year, and in El Paso, Texas, as we say, the real Texas, West Texas. It's easy to survive in Dallas and Houston. They've got water and grass and trees. We're out here in the desert where you got to be tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I pastor here with my son and my daughter. They're the lead pastor of our churches.
Wow.
And I started 48 years ago with a home Bible study, and it's grown into this great church that we are so humbled to be called the pastors of it, and honored that so many people believe in us and trust us with their spiritual life. And we're here to make a difference in our community and hopefully make our community different.
Beautiful. I want to just mention this before we continue on our conversation and go down more of this list of mistakes that we don't want to make. We want to learn from you, Pastor Charles. But I want to say to everybody watching and listening, I got to meet Pastor Charles officially on a trip in Latin America. We were investing and pouring into pastors in Latin America, along with a good friend, Pastor Robert Berger from Lima, Peru. And man, what a blessing to be able, for me, Pastor Charles, to see you, a general in the faith, a pastor of pastors who has been doing this for quite some time, but you still have the passion, the spark, and may I say the gifting to bring it to leaders. I appreciated so much watching you day in, day out, just pour out into the leaders and pastors that were there at this conference. And that's why I said, man, I want to have Pastor Charles on the AVAIL podcast, talk a little bit about what's on his heart. And so you brought up to me this idea of, hey, Pastor, you said, Virgil, I have a list of mistakes that pastors and that leaders make in ministry. It would be good to go through these. And I think this is a wonderful idea. Why? Because a lot of us who are leading and pastoring, we need to hear this. A, so we can course correct if we haven't been doing some of these things right. And B, so we can avoid some of these pitfalls. And I remember, remind me how you thought of this list again.
Yeah, I was out on a walk and I was praying, and just not about anything. Well, I was praying about my future and being effective and being fruitful, and reminding God of Psalm 92 that even in my old age I'll be fruitful. And
yes,
so I was going through that, and I heard a voice inside of me say, "Start making a list of mistakes that you've seen leaders make, pastor leaders and ministry leaders make."
Yeah.
And so I just started, as I would think about them, I would type them in my phone or write them on a piece of paper. And then I started compiling them into this list that I'm sharing with you. And, it keeps growing, because I see something, or something comes up to me and I'll write it down. And, some of them are potentially catastrophic. Most of them are not short-term catastrophic, but they could be long-term. Mm-hmm. And definitely, if not corrected or embraced, these mistakes will eventually cost us in fruitfulness, relationships, not fulfilling God's purpose. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Yeah.
And again, I want to say before we jump in, I am not setting myself up as the arbitrator of all that is holy and right. These are just mistakes that I have seen, some that I have done,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I definitely want to run from them because they are. I mean, honestly, Verge, who has time to waste making dumb mistakes?
Right.
Why?
Not me.
Why? I don't. Not at this time in my life.
Agreed. And me, I will be typing some notes here as you're talking, and I encourage all the leaders who are leaning in right now to do the same. Let's go for the next one. Continuing on from the part 1 episode, here's the next one on my list as we're going through these. Here's a mistake that many leaders make. You don't recognize that success makes us complacent. Unpack that for us.
Yeah, when things begin to grow or you begin to have success and you get off of what we talked off last time, those narrow margins between success and failure, right? When we first started our church, those margins were like razor thin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not that way now, right?
Right.
We're on a much broader path
Mm-hmm.
back then, and we have room here, okay? But, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 6, the King James text says, they that hunger and thirst after righteousness shall be filled. But in the Greek text, it says, and I quote, those that are hungering and thirsting. So the idea is not that I was hungry and I'm not hungry anymore, or I was thirsty but I'm not thirsty anymore. No. And in the Greek language, the idea is that the person keeps the hunger and the thirst alive.
Yep.
So if I'm encouraged to do it, that means I can lose it. And so what happens a lot of times, and I've seen this, is people start getting some success. And I know this sounds amazing, but they quit paying attention.
Right.
The leaders,
Yeah.
they quit paying attention. Or they see things that they would have never put up with 5 years ago, but now they turn a blind eye to it.
Mm.
They just, I don't want to mess with that. We fail to notice that in our own organization, things are changing. I mean, listen to this. Or they're not being done, or corruption is taking place in our organization. Not corruption from the standpoint of, well, it might be, but I'm not thinking primarily about corruption that people are stealing from us, but I'm talking about like rust begins to get into your organization and it begins to corrupt it, right? Like the mainframe on your car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I live in a part of the country, you live in a part of the country, well, that's not an issue. But in the Northeast part of America, rust is a major issue, and they have to check it constantly because if you don't, your car gets corrupted. Your ministry can get corrupted by neglect, by complacency, by not wanting to have the hard conversations anymore, thinking that if we ignore it, it's going to get better. Oh my God, it doesn't work in marriage. It's not going to work in ministry, right? So you got to address this. I read this quote, and it's not a biblical quote. It's from a guy, maybe you've heard of him, named Shakespeare. And Shakespeare made this quote, and I believe it. He said, plenty and peace breeds cowards. Plenty and peace breeds cowards. Right? The other saying is, right, hard times produce hard men produce good times produce soft men then produce hard times produce hard men. And it's a cycle. Complacency is our enemy, and success feeds it. I don't have to be as diligent because I have padding, right? Let's remember this. Matthew 25:21, the parable of the talents. Jesus makes so many amazing statements in that parable. And one of them is, he says, if you are faithful over little, you will be made ruler over much. The Greek text says, if you are faithful in the smalls, you will rule much. Okay, you come to church on Sunday, everything looks easy, right? The people come in, and the reason why it looks easy is because you have, and I have, and the other people watching, we have all kinds of people doing what? Taking care of the smalls. We rule much because we are faithful over the smalls. Serge, much is made up of hundreds, if not thousands, of smalls.
Right.
So it's not like you were faithful in the little and now you're ruler over much and you no longer have to take care of the little. No, you rule much because you stay faithful over the little. You take care of it. You go back in those nursery rooms. Do these walls need to be painted? Yes, let's get them painted. Why are these doors chipped? Why aren't we starting on time? Why aren't we finishing on time? Right? We're backing up the parking lot and making people frustrated because the pastor won't shut up. Right? You won't shut up. You make praise and worship finish on time. You make youth finish on time, but you don't finish on time. You've become complacent.
Yeah.
And it's not, it happens to all of us.
Yeah.
But we need to fight it.
Yeah.
So we got to stay on top of it, right?
Yeah.
And take care of all that. And don't become complacent because you have some padding.
Yeah, that's good. I've also heard the quote, the greatest enemy of tomorrow's success is yesterday's success, which kind of, it's on the same wavelength of
and
complacency.
Tommy Barnett says my pastor, Tommy Barnett says the greatest enemy of tomorrow's success is today's success.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Very good. All right.
Yesterday's,
today's. Yeah. All right. I want you to unpack this next one because it caught my attention.
This was strong.
Here's the mistake. Here's the mistake that you're talking about. You become a zoo lion over a jungle lion.
Yeah. First of all, I'd love to say that I originated that thought. I didn't. I read it in a book, and it strikes me, and it constantly challenges me.
Wow.
Right. So a zoo lion and a jungle lion, right? They're both lions. But I've seen lions in the zoo, and I've had the great privilege of seeing lions in the wild in South Africa. You take that lion out of South Africa and put him in the cage with that one in the zoo, the one in the zoo is fixing to get eaten. All right? So what happens to us a lot of times is that we come into this and we're jungle lions. We're fighting to survive, right? We're muscled up. We're strong. We're fighting to live. But then over time, we get some success and we become a zoo lion, right? And what's the problem with the zoo lion? He doesn't have to hunt. He doesn't have to fight. He just lays there, and every day they come out and throw him some T-bones and he eats them, right? And that's his life. He's still a lion. But he's not what he used to be, or he's not what he could have been. He's not what he was made to be, because he's kept. He's taken care of. He has no hunger. He has no fight. He's just there. All he does is eat and sleep, get up and move over someplace else, fall down and fall asleep again. Tragic. And you don't want to be that way. And to that I wrote in my notes, no one ever did anything impressive in a zoo. Right? I don't want to be a zoo lion.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a zoo lion. I want to be a jungle lion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I want to be a jungle lion. I don't want to
lose that hunger. I don't want to lose that fight.
Nope. I'm going to be the leader of my pride. I want my kids to look up to me, my grandkids to look up to me.
That's right.
I want my church members to count on me. I want to be a jungle lion.
That's good. That'll preach, Pastor Charles. Here's the next mistake that you're warning us of. Thinking that because you are leading or in control, now you are free from being led or under control.
Yeah. I'm going to read it again. Thinking because you are leading or in control, now you are free from being led or being under control. I mean, it almost preaches itself.
Yeah.
Right? So now I'm a leader, or I'm in control of a department, or I'm in control of this church. So now I don't have to take advice. Right? And in Matthew chapter 8, Jesus dealing with the centurion, right? The centurion said, I'm a man of authority because I'm under authority.
Right.
So if I want to be under authority, I mean, if I want to have authority, I got to be under authority. So I say to you leaders all the time, are you teachable? Are you correctable? Is there anybody in your life that can call you out and you will respect it?
Right.
And I don't mean your spouse. I mean somebody else that can call you out. And will you accept it? Will you accept their correction? Or are you above it all now? Right? Did the Bible make a mistake and say that it's not a Trinity? There's actually four, and you're okay. I mean, it's just it's so dangerous.
Yeah. It is.
And a lot of times when you're starting, right, you're taking advice from anywhere and everywhere. But you get some success or you get some years. I've seen guys that even aren't that successful, but they're still, now you can't tell them anything. You can't teach them anything.
Right.
And they, in fact, are out of control. They're out of control. They're, well, I don't know how far you want me to go, right? They look at the church as their personal ATM machine.
Wow.
You know, they don't take care of themselves physically. They don't take care of themselves emotionally. They go off the handle. They're verbally abusive. Come on.
Yeah.
You know, you still need to be under control and you need to be under authority.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do. I do. I am.
Yeah.
You've already authority.
Yeah, you've already made a reference to your pastor, and you know, I think I've learned this as well: the importance of having some overseers, having a pastor, having a coach, having voices of people in our lives that can tell us what they're seeing, that can be honest with us, and I think I love the example of Matthew 8 and a man of authority because he's under authority. I think there's power in that. Let's keep this train going, Pastor Charles. I like this one, and I want to hear for your heart on this one. Here's a mistake that leaders make: you don't let your staff know how proud you are of them.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell you, Virg, how many times I've looked at pastors, leaders, and privately and said to them, "When was the last time you thanked your staff?
Wow.
When was the last time you said to them, thank you? When was the last time you showed up with pizzas at lunch and bought everybody's lunch?
Yeah.
When was the last time you looked at them and said, I'm so proud of you. You guys did this incredibly well. You guys made an incredible effort here. Thank you. Thank you. We cannot do what we do as a church without you. Thank you so much. Me, my son, my daughter, we appreciate you. We love you. We thank God for you. You know, and I actually had a guy say to me one time, well, I shouldn't have to do that. Okay, if you want to be that spiritual, I guess not. But have fun with that. Let's see how far that goes.
Right.
Again, I'm not talking about things here, right? You can do anything for 10 years with smoke and mirrors. Let's talk 20 years. In 20 years, you're going to go on, if you never thank your staff and tell them how proud you are of them, in 20 years, you're going to go through 8 or 9 renditions of your staff.
Right.
How much retraining are you doing? You know what's going to happen? You're going to be like spinning your wheels in mud.
Right.
And it's some of those people that stick with you. I've got people that have been with me for 40 years.
Wow.
Right? They carry stuff in their heads. Right? I mean, they just do things. There's a flow to their life. If we give it to this person or that person, we don't even have to give it a thought. Is it going to be done? Of course it's going to be done. It's going to be done at the Abundant Church standard. And they're going to do it. So, yeah, I just cannot emphasize that enough.
Yeah, I think it's a value. I think it's something that people value being affirmed. I think even hearing the voice of a father I think as pastors, often we have that voice, that fathering voice, and a good father affirms his son and his daughter. And I think, even as you're speaking, I'm thinking of ways right now that I can do that and also express gratitude, because ultimately they are a blessing. All right, let's go to the next one. Here it is. Here's the next mistake on Pastor Charles's list of mistakes ministry leaders make: thinking that stubbornness is a virtue.
Yeah, there comes times in your life where you have to be willing to disengage. And what do I mean by that? You had an idea, it seemed like an idea, you thought the idea was from the Lord, but it's not working.
Right.
It's just not working. And I mean, there have been several things that we went into and it didn't work, or it worked for a while, which is a concept that a lot of leaders never understand, and that is some things are for a season.
Right.
It's a hard thing. It was a hard thing for me to embrace. But, if it's not working, if it's not bearing fruit,
right,
disengage. Don't be stubborn. Don't just hang in there, right?
Yeah.
John Osteen, right? Joel's daddy, used to do a teaching called A Place Called There. It was incredible teaching. And he said, and he used the illustration with Elijah, and he said that he told Elijah to go to the brook Kidron. He said, "For I have commanded the ravens to take care of you there." Well, then after a while, he told him to go to Zarepta, because he said, "I've commanded a widow woman to take care of you there." And John, being a preacher, right, emphasized the word there. He said what most Christians would have done, they would still be at the brook commanding the water to flow and the ravens to come back, right? But Elijah went, okay, and he moved. You got to be willing to disengage.
Yeah.
Right? If it's not working, it's not working.
Yeah.
Don't be stubborn. Now, I know there is an element of being willing to grind it out and fight through it.
Yeah.
But even then, if you keep grinding and it's just not happening, back out. But let me give one word of warning here. It's hard to back out when everything you tell your church is, "The Lord told me we're supposed to do this."
Ooh.
Because when you say, "The Lord told me," well, then why is it not working? 48 years, Serge, I've pastored this church. I have not told my church that 10 times. Not yet. In 48 years.
Yeah.
If I go in this weekend, right over here, I'm pointing over here to my sanctuary. If I go into that sanctuary this weekend and I tell that church, "The Lord told me," that room is going to get so quiet.
Right.
Because they know I'm not fooling and I'm not manipulating. I'm not playing games with them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I was thinking as you were explaining this, Dr. Sam Chand, one of the founders of AVAIL, he gives a teaching where he says, if the horse is dead, get off of it. And often as leaders, we're trying to stay on that horse, not realizing that it's dead. And he says, sometimes you have to give the horse a good funeral. Thank you for the years of serving and doing, but it's time to get off.
You got to cut your losses.
Yeah.
You got to recognize that not anybody wins all the time.
Yeah.
You just don't, right? And what it requires is real honesty with yourself as a leader.
Yeah. Now I need your help with this next one, Pastor Charles, because when I was deciphering your hieroglyphics on your notes, it was a challenge. But you use your success
to purchase ego or more exemptions from the
rules. Wow.
Yeah, you do, right? I've got all this success now, so I'm going to use this success to feed my ego.
Wow.
It's about me. Look at me. I've seen this, Verge. I was at a conference one time, and there was a guy there, and he was moderately successful, and he was upset the whole conference. He was bent out of shape. He was mumbling, grumbling all the time because he was there and he wasn't asked to speak, and he should have been asked to speak.
Wow.
Because of this and that. Brother, I finally looked at him. He was belly aching to me. I finally looked at him. I said, brother, there are 10 guys, not even in the back room, have bigger ministries and churches than you do. And they're all sitting out there being nice. Grow up.
Yep.
I'm not speaking, and I've got more volunteers than you have members.
Sure. Yeah.
Get over yourself. But if you're not careful, you can do that.
Yeah.
Right? Or because I'm successful, I don't have to obey these rules of
Right.
law. Right? I don't have to obey them anymore because I'm successful. It's going to destroy you. You're thinking of yourself more highly than you ought to think. Romans 12:3.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. This is good advice. And it's good advice for all of us who are pastoring and leading to think about these things. Here's another one I want to talk about. You don't think about things getting hard, but they will.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where this idea crept into Christianity that life is not supposed to be hard if you're a Christian. Matthew 16:33, Jesus said, is that good enough authority for us?
Uh-huh.
Jesus said, in this life
world,
you will have temptations, tests, and trials. Take courage. All right? So yeah, if it's not hard now, it will be.
And then the next one is, it's good, it's hard.
Yeah, I think it is good because hard drives away the cowards.
All right.
Right? Clears the field. Gets rid of all that. Gets rid of all the pretenders.
Right.
All the wannabes. Right? Mm-hmm. It challenges. It's good that it's hard because when it's hard, then the courageous are challenged.
Right.
Right? I don't need courage when things are easy.
Mm-hmm.
I need courage when things are hard.
Mm.
That's when you got to answer the phone. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Call from courage.
Yeah.
I wrote down here, they're called trying times for a reason. Okay? And we all encounter them. I've had more, and there were times in my life when I was going through hard times, and sometimes those hard times went on for years.
Mm.
And they were difficult and they were hard, and I wasn't getting paid, and church members were leaving by the hundreds, and it was difficult, and my wife and I were rubbing on each other, and,
Yep.
and creating conflict and hurt feelings, and then all kinds of thoughts start coming to your mind, and it's hard, and even now at this stage in my life, so how do I look at it now? I embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I should be exempt from it.
Right.
I don't look at my life that way. I just embrace it. Hard time, okay? Throw your arms around it. Pull it in. Get it close to you. Don't be afraid of it.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're man enough for it. You're woman enough for it. You can do it. Okay, it's hard. Okay. Name one person that didn't have hard times.
Mm-hmm.
One of the great Bible people you look up to didn't have hard times. What about Paul, for crying out loud? Write that list in 2 Corinthians 11.
Uh-huh.
Stop it. Right? Peter, James, John. How about Joseph in the Old Testament? Solomon, David. David, you telling me David didn't have hard times?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. I mean, the list, it never stops. Esther, it wasn't hard walking into the king's palace.
Mm.
Woo.
Yep.
Hard times.
Yep. I think we got time for two more, Pastor Charles. Here's another mistake that leaders make in ministry. You fail to consider the potential of unintended consequences.
Yeah, this comes down to thinking through things, right?
Okay.
So you're going to do something. I think of my decisions personally and as a ministry as dominoes. Okay? So let's go back to David, right? David decided not to go to war. He went up on the roof. He saw Bathsheba. All he wanted that night was hot sex with a beautiful woman. Mm-hmm. He failed to consider the potential of unintended consequences, right? What if she gets pregnant, which she did? What am I going to do? I'm going to have to kill her husband. Well, he didn't have to. He could have fessed up, right? But he just sit there, and then what happens, right? Plague comes. His own son, years later, rapes his sister. Where did the son learn that? From watching his old man. Where do you think he learned it? Right? I mean, Absalom revolts against him. Why? Because he had no respect for him as a father. Because of all this stuff that he had done. So there is unintended consequences. Whenever we are going to create a policy, I always ask this question: how is this going to be interpreted? How could it be interpreted? And are we willing to live with the interpretation? If we're not willing to live, we try to think of how far these dominoes are going to fall, Serge. And we try to think, and we think if the dominoes are going to fall there, are we willing to live with that? Most of the time we are. Sometimes we're like, no, we back up, we rethink what we're going to do, right? And then we change it, we tweak it to where we eliminate that domino from falling. And we figure out another way to get it done, but just in a different way. And this is one of the smartest things you can teach yourself, is to think through it. Think through it. How far will this go? Okay? How far will it go? I had a friend of mine once, he made a decision that people could not bring their babies into the auditorium. Right? I had another friend of mine that started locking the doors at a certain point once the service started. And get in the room. Really? And so how are people going to respond to that? You know, I've gone over here to Dillard's. You have Dillard's where you live? We have Dillard's.
Yeah.
I've gone over to Dillard's at 10 till 6 closing time or 10 till 9 closing time. They don't turn me away. They let me come in and buy something. I mean, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah. It's so important to identify these mistakes, to learn about these mistakes and avoid falling in them. Let's do one more, Pastor Charles, as we're coming to end here. Here's one more from your list. You never developed or you let go of grit.
Grit. Yeah, grit is the Bible word or the dictionary word for perseverance. If you look up perseverance, the synonym is grit. The synonym is also guts. And backbone is one of the synonyms. You have to develop that in your life. There are times in leadership where you've got to just grit it out. You've got to just grit it out. Things are not fun. That's not great. You got staff issues. Your spouse is irritated with you. You got a kid that's struggling in school or whatever, being rebellious, right? You're not feeling good physically.
Yep.
You got to just grit it out. And a lot of guys, I think that talent is what really matters. No. What really matters in your life is grit. Grit is more valuable than talent. All of us have seen incredibly talented people in the sports world, entertainment world, right? And where are they now? Where are they now? Or we look at them and we say, oh, he had a nice career, but what could he have done? What could she have been? What was lacking? Talent? No. Grit. That willingness to just, here I am. Here I am.
Yep.
I'm going to fight for this. I'm not going to let go. I'm going to push my gifting to its highest. But I'm not depending on the gift. I'm depending on my grit, my guts, my perseverance to push through this. Right?
Yeah. We need pastors and leaders with grit. Pastor Charles, I feel like talking through this, I feel pumped. I feel pumped and ready to go.
Thank you.
And also to avoid these mistakes in my leadership. Pastor Charles, for those who are leaning in and say, man, I'd love to know more about Pastor Charles Nieman's church and ministry, what are some of the ways they can connect with you?
Yeah, we have a church app. It's called Abundant Church. You can get it in the App Store on your phone. It's free. It's got all of our teachings and all about, when I say our, me, my son, my daughter. It's got all of our teachings there. So that, charlesnieman.com has got a lot of information about who I am and resources that I have. I've written some books, and got one called Burn the White Flag, which is all about overcoming discouragement. It's a battle that I had to fight. And, here's the thought, right? There's never any Army, Navy, Air Force, anything ever in the history of the world has gone to battle with a white flag. If they wave one, they have to go find one. They never make allowance to wave a white flag. So Satan wants to get us to wave the white flag, to quit, quit on blank, quit. So that I wrote another one called Endings and Beginnings, about what God showed me that got me through after Rochelle passed away, and how I went from an ending to a new beginning.
Yeah.
And that and a lot of other things. Thanks for letting me share that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Check it out, everybody. Abundant Church app, free and available on the App Store. Also, charlesnieman.com to see some more of those resources. You can follow Charles on Instagram as well. I want to mention the AVAIL Journal, comes out quarterly. You can try it for free on us for a trial subscription. Check it out, availjournal.com. Pastor Charles, what do you want to leave on our hearts as we finish?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, believe in who you are, believe in what you're doing, and also believe in the absolute power of grit and humility.
Yeah.
And temperance, self-control.
That's good. Pastor Charles, thank you for unpacking your heart and also wisdom from your years of ministry and leadership. I pray that one day I could be as far down the road as you, as if the Lord hasn't returned, and I can learn and keep growing. And thank you for being willing to share, to teach, and to pour into other leaders. On behalf of Dr. Sam Chan, Martijn Ventilborg, Pastor Virgil Sierra, and all our AVAIL team, thank you. We bless you. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the AVAIL podcast. For more leadership resources, check us out at theartofleadership.com. And make sure to claim your free trial subscription of the AVAIL Journal at availjournal.com. As always, I'm your AVAIL podcast host, Virgil Sierra. Muchas gracias. Thank you for connecting with us to learn the art of leadership here at the AVAIL podcast.